I'm back. Yeah, sorry for being gone for so long. I tried to find my glasses and I couldn't find them. I love Pokemon. Pokemon has been one of my favorite franchises ever since I was a little kid. Whenever I first played X and Y on my 3DS, it blew me away by the concept of having so many little creatures you could catch and battle and trade with other people around the world. It was such a cool idea to me. I loved collecting the trading cards, I loved getting every single new game as they came out, I loved going to GameStop and trying to get these little cards that had like shiny Pokemon on them, and it was like the ones that are shiny locked, so it was pretty cool. Shout out to anybody who remembers that, because that is something. But you want to know something I love a little bit more? Pokemon Directs, Pokemon Presents. I don't really know why they call them something different. I mean, it is just a direct, so it's whatever. Anytime that there's a new Pokemon Presents, I get really excited because that means that there's gonna be new Pokemon content. And of course, I get to speculate a little bit. I love being a little crazy in the head and just making shit up as I go along. Now, a lot of the time whenever Pokemon Presents comes out, I see a lot of predictions online that kind of get a little unrealistic at points. So I kind of wanted to make a video just kind of explaining some of my predictions and what I think is realistic. Again, I'm not Mr. Game Freak, so I don't really know what's going to happen within the next year, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm just kind of using some evidence that we've gotten in the past to build this a little bit. Now, let me preface this by saying that I'm not really expecting much from the Pokemon Presents. We obviously know that the Switch 2 is coming within the next few months, so a lot of the effort that's probably being put into the games are being put into the games that are coming out probably next year. And if there's a Pokemon Presents pretty much at the beginning of every year, I don't think they would try and rush announcements for games coming later next year if there's already a game that is big enough to come out this year, you know? It sounds really weird, but I'm just not expecting much. That's pretty much all I'm saying. The first prediction, and probably the most vanilla thing I could have said, is we're getting updates to Pokemon TCG, Go, Unite, and whatever other games, I guess Sleep and Cafe Mix, that's what it is. I don't think anybody plays that game. Like, does anybody here actually play Pokemon Cafe Mix? Comment down below if you do. Honestly, this is kind of par for the course for any Pokemon Presents. Of course, you're going to want to try and update people on the new mobile game stuff and new content that's coming to any game. I definitely think there's going to be also some new raid battles or some new news about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but I don't think we're probably going to be seeing any more DLC for the game. Unfortunately, Scarlet and Violet has kind of run its course over the past 2 years, so I don't really think that it's going to get any new content if we haven't really gotten any new content within the past year. Of course, it would be a pretty cool surprise to get new DLC for it, but I'm not really hankering for it because I didn't really play the first two and I don't really want to revisit that game ever again. That sounds like I kind of hate Gen 9, but I don't really care about it that much. Moving on from kind of updates, I do think that we are going to see an announcement of some new side game. Now, honestly, I don't really have a good prediction for this. It's just kind of something that may happen because it happens a lot. Pretty much in every single new Pokemon Presents, we've gotten some new side game, either mobile or on the Switch. Last year, we had Pokemon TCG Pocket. We also had Detective Pikachu 2. Remember, that came out. Did that game come out this year? Oh no, that game came out 2 years ago. I didn't even know that. But we usually see some sort of new big side game announcement, so I don't think Pokemon is really going to try and miss their chance for this. Honestly, I'd love to see a new Mystery Dungeon remake, or just a new Mystery Dungeon game in general, or even, hell, the Rumble games. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. But hopefully whatever they do announce is going to be something of substance to keep us over for what I'm about to talk about next, Pokemon Legends ZA. Now, we have not gotten any news on this game since it was announced last year, and honestly, that's a really good thing. For the past few years, we have just been flooded with new Pokemon games. And that doesn't always mean that they're going to be good. Ever since Pokemon Sword and Shield up to Scarlet and Violet, Pokemon games just kind of feel rushed at this point. It doesn't feel like they're taking enough time spending developing some of these games, and they always seem like they cut corners in areas that should have been there from the start. I mean, hell, if I loaded up Scarlet and Violet right now and I just started walking around, you would probably know what I mean. So it's amazing that we have gotten nothing about this game, so that means that it's probably going to be somewhat good. My prediction for Pokemon Legends EA is that we're probably going to get a gameplay reveal trailer, meaning that we're just going to see what the game looks like pretty much. Most likely, we're going to get the release date too. I'm not going to make any sort of prediction of when it's going to come out, but I do think it is going to release simultaneously on the Switch 2 and the original Switch. Now, this seems like a really weird thing to say. Why would they try and put an experience made for the Switch 2 on the Switch? But I don't think it's that simple. Back for the reveal trailer of Pokemon Legends ZA, we got the announcement that it was going to be releasing simultaneously worldwide in 2025. Now, if the Switch 2 still comes out in 2025, like, why wouldn't it? It most likely means that the Switch is going to receive a version of the game, and the Switch 2 is probably going to have the better version of the game. Now, honestly, this could just mean it's releasing simultaneously worldwide for all countries at the same time, but I don't think that that would be the case. Pokemon has been releasing their games in all territories at the same time as of recent, or as in the past few years. So for them to state that it would be coming simultaneously worldwide in 2025, it doesn't really make sense to me. Unless if you were to use the context of it coming to both systems. Now, this seems kind of weird. Why would they put a version of Pokemon Legends ZA meant for the Switch 2 on the original Switch? Well, the answer is that it was announced for the Switch originally. In the past, we've seen games that have been promised for past consoles make their way to the next generation of consoles. The biggest one in recent memory was Breath of the Wild. It was originally developed to be on the Wii U, however, as more time and resources were spent developing it, they found that it was actually probably better to release it on the Switch as a release title. Am I saying Legends EA is going to be a release title? Probably not. I honestly don't think it will be a launch title for the system, just because that would mean that it would have to release as soon as the console is available on the market, and we don't really have a release date for it yet. And most Pokemon games do come out in November, which would mean that after the Switch 2 Direct in April, we would still have to wait until November to get our hands on the console or any new information. So I don't think it would be realistic to expect this to be a launch title for the Switch 2. I mean, hey, it could be. There hasn't been any Pokemon games that have released the same day as a console, at least to my memory. But I think it would be pretty cool to have a Pokemon game day one. Honestly though, I don't really have any other predictions for Pokemon Legends ZA. I think we'll see the starters, I think we'll see some Mega Evolutions, I think we'll see some main characters that are going to be around, but I don't really think we're going to get much else. Now, after talking about Pokemon Legends ZA, I don't really have any other predictions, but there is one thing I kind of want to talk about. As of recent, I've seen a lot of speculation online of whether or not we will be getting Gen 5 remakes, or Gen 5 sequels, even though they already have sequels, so I guess it would be a threequel. And I do think it is realistic to expect Pokemon to do it. I mean, in between every single generation, we've had a remake of a game, but because of the timing of both consoles, I don't think that a black and white remake would be kind of logical here. Legends ZA has gotten no news on it, so I definitely think that the presentation is going to focus a lot more on Legends ZA instead of focusing on announcing new content that would be huge. And coming from the stance of Game Freak, it doesn't really make logical sense to release it at this time. Again, the Switch is pretty much at the end of its lifespan, so if it got a Pokemon Black and White remake, why didn't you just wait to release it on the Switch too? Again, going back to the Switch, it's kind of on the end of its lifespan. So the Switch 2 could get it announced for November, but we don't know anything else about the Switch 2. We don't know its release date or anything. So I feel like it would be giving us more information that we can't really get right now. It's sort of the unfortunate situation of just the timing of how all of the announcements line up, but I just don't think it would be realistic for them to announce Gen 5 remakes. Now, if we're talking about next year, and if we were in 2026, I definitely think that that would happen. In between every single generation, we have seen a remake pop up in order to hold people over until the next generation comes out. So Gen 5 being the title to hold us over until Gen 10 comes out, I think would be logical sense. And especially due to the backlash of Gen 8 and Gen 9, and especially the Gen 4 remakes, I think they want to spend more time developing a Gen 5 remake in order to give it the life that it deserves. I'm not saying Platinum didn't deserve the same love, but it didn't get it, so, you know. This would also allow Game Freak to develop Gen 10 a ton more, and hopefully Gen 10 ends up being a lot better than the last 2 generations of Pokemon, but I feel like that's going a little too far in the future. So, as much as I'd like the Gen 5 remakes, I just don't think they're gonna happen this year. But maybe they will. I think it would be pretty cool if we did get the Gen 5 remakes, but I'm really hoping that they just kind of hold it off, especially because of BDSP. Like, those games, whew. I'll be very upfront about one thing. I have not traded in a game to GameStop in a very long time. However, I did make one exception, and that was trading in Brilliant Diamond, because I do not like that game at all. But in terms of my predictions, that's pretty much it. Again, I told you I wasn't really expecting much. Again, I'm really excited to see what they have to show for Pokemon Legends ZA. Hopefully, it's not as messy as Pokemon Legends Arceus. I love that game, but it does have its issues. To wrap things up, though, I do have a lot of excitement for this next Pokemon Presents. Let's be honest to ourselves, within the past few years, Pokemon has been in kind of a crappy place. So to actually have enthusiasm and excitement for the new projects is pretty nice to have. But that pretty much wraps up everything I really have to say about what could be announced for the next Pokemon Presents. If you guys have any other ideas or any other weird predictions, I'd love to hear them down in the comments. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Okay. Well, my camera isn't working, so this is all going to be audio, but I'm very glad that a lot of people enjoyed the last video. I do have a lot of projects in the works. I've been writing a lot of different, like, scripts and stuff just to see what I want to make, but I can tell you that if you did like the last video, I do have some more stuff coming, so, I hope you really enjoy this video. If you do, hit like, blah, 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 whatever else. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Oh, now my camera actually wants to start working again, right after I said that. That's awesome.